the Pikachu movie come out? That's probably going to actually do well. May 10th. Bam. Fucking, that ain't making money.
You don't think so?
Off the tail of the biggest movie ever made? I don't know. No, I don't make money.
What's the biggest movie? Endgame?
Endgame.
Ever made?
Yeah. Dude, you're telling me Endgame, I wouldn't be shocked if there's ever going to be a movie to break $300 million opening weekend domestically, it's Endgame. If that's ever going to happen. It'll never be another Star Wars movie because 250 was the limit for Star Wars. You will never get a bigger hype for Star Wars than that first new Star Wars movie, right?
I don't think that's true.
You don't think that it is literally impossible to get another Star Wars movie bigger than The Force Awakens?
I do not think it's impossible, no.
What do you have to do to make it bigger than The Force Awakens?
Make two really, really, really good movies.
Yeah. Well, judging by their track record, I don't see it happening.
Don't the end of trilogies typically make a lot of money?
Yeah. But also typically the second movie makes more money too. And that's not what happened.
I'm just saying, I think, if you went back in time with new characters, I've said this before, with Star Wars, and you made two great movies, I think a third one could beat The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Do you disagree?
I don't disagree. I'm just saying that what we've gotten lately has put them on a really rough track.
I'm not talking... It's impossible in the next 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in the next 10 years?
Like you said, they'd have to put out really quality movies.
Two. That's it.
So, but you are right when it comes to the third movie in a trilogy doing better than all the other ones, regardless of the quality. So, Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
It's the worst Spider-Man movie in that trilogy. It's not the worst Spider-Man movie ever. Made 150 opening weekend. Highest grossing opening weekend for a Spider-Man movie. Highest grossing Spider-Man movie, actually, too. Made more than Homecoming. And it's because the first two were really good, especially the second one.
But that's what I'm saying. I do
and the
think
movie's fucking nowhere near as good. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think you can beat The Force Awakens numbers.
Yeah.
I think it's more achievable than you think. You just need you need an end game.
Yeah. I'll give you that. Because you know what? Marvel is a little bit different when it comes to, say, the success directly of Avengers, because the first Avengers outperformed the second Avengers.
Yeah.
But Infinity War outperformed both of them. So there was a dip in quality in the second one, but the third one did make more money. The only problem is there was also 9 movies in between Avengers 2 and Infinity War that really built a lot of credibility, especially the last few ones, leading up to Endgame.
Yeah, but Infinity War is the first Marvel film with the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Ever. So if Star Wars could do a cliffhanger just as effectively, which I think it can still.
Didn't they do it already?
I think they could have one just as big if they played it right.
Yeah.
Maybe not big initially. Absolutely not as big as initially, but create the same impact with a different story. Create a twist that no one sees coming in the second film. And I bet you have a third film with characters that people love, characters that they love as much as Iron Man and Captain America. I think you can beat it.
Do you think that Star Wars, or if I should say the people behind Star Wars, are capable of putting their agendas aside, hire good directors to make good movies, and get that done? Because as far as what I've seen from them, it's just a disaster what they've done with these movies, and it's such a fucking shame because it's something that should be one of the best franchises out there, but because of the people behind it, it gets very tainted.
I think my answer is going to shock you. No. I don't think the current people running it are capable of that.
Yeah. So when does this change happen with the people making these movies to come up with something better? And I'm not saying it's not going to happen, because you could look at X-Men. They had a couple good movies, bunch of shitty movies, but then somebody was like, all right, let's get the guy back that, made the good ones who is now a rapist. and they got Matthew Vaughn, and they kind of like just changed it up a lot, and they made it really good again to then be ruined by the rapist. But so what I'm saying is, just because a franchise is in a bad place doesn't mean it can't be brought out of it and be really successful.
Yeah, but I do not see the people right now bringing it into this new era.
When does this change?
Sorry. If episode 9 underperforms, which it's possible.
I could see it underperforming. I could see it also doing really well. I don't see it breaking records.
It won't. The Star Wars fan base right now is still tainted.
Yeah. It's also important when this movie comes out that we have to remember what is a good performance when it comes to box office and what is not. Because if say this movie comes out and it makes $170 million opening weekend, guaranteed people will call it a failure. And $170 million opening weekend is no fucking failure. So you got to remember what planet you live on when this movie comes out. And hopefully the most important thing is that it's good. And if it's not, then that's a really big problem. This franchise will be in a lot of trouble. It already is in a lot of trouble, considering the performance of the last movie.
But you're right. It's the whole agenda thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. It's almost, you know what? I know exactly what it is. The people don't understand the appeal of Star Wars. Mm-hmm. And they've believed that Star Wars was bigger than it was, which is crazy. As far as like it being this untouchable franchise, literally people thought that it was untouchable.
Yeah.
And that's why they thought they could shove all these agendas down their throat, because you look at the prequels made tons of money.
Yeah.
And people complained about them.
A lot of money.
But
and to even defend George Lucas, which is not something I do very often, even though I do not like the prequels, I can admit that George Lucas's idea behind them was for fans. Like, it was for his money, but it was also like, Star Wars is about escapism. You're supposed to put yourself in the shoes of the people that are on this heroic journey, right? Mm-hmm. And that's all you really want it to be. You just want it to be a smart, well-executed, charming, engaging action franchise where you get to feel this adventure. And George Lucas's vision of the prequels gave you like a universe that very much expanded on what we already had, and it made Star Wars a lot more rich.
Yes,
it gave us so much more.
Way more rich.
And that's not something we get. That's not something we get with any of this. They definitely make it smaller. They introduce you to planets that look exactly like the ones you've seen before, and they give you characters that do nothing. And
the story is very similar in a lot of ways.
The story is similar, and it's not very clever, and it almost like talks down to you in a way. It's not designed with your like experience really in mind. I feel like because it's not just. And this sounds so nerdy to me to say it. It's like it's not just movies, but it is a world. You know, they have like an entire like community's made up fan universe.
Yeah,
that is really important to a lot of people. And when you fuck with it, it's going to get a lot of people upset, and they're going to reject your idea of the universe.
I'm still making tons upon tons of content on the lore established in the George Lucas era of prequels and stuff. I make next to no new content of any of the new movies.
Yeah.
If I put out a video about the new movies, it doesn't do as well as the old content stuff.
Yeah, because it's not as interesting.
No.
They don't show you anything that like really builds on the universe. You get like a casino planet.
I was so excited to see Luke Skywalker's new advanced teachings as a Jedi. I was excited to potentially see Snoke train Kylo Ren, get something different that we hadn't seen before in Star Wars. And you just don't get it.
Yeah, maybe learn some ancient truth about either the Jedi or the Sith that hasn't been expanded on. You know, they offer you nothing. They offer you more of the same, but with a different coat of paint on it.
Yep.
And I can't even think of like one thing that they've introduced in these new movies that really changed anything for Star Wars. Like, I mean, obviously you have these new characters, but I just feel like most of anything they've introduced as far as lore goes in these movies has just been rejected. other than maybe some of the post Return of the Jedi events. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so like there was still wars going on after Return of the Jedi. And that's what happened to Jakku. And it's like, oh, that's fun. Like there was still a little bit of the Empire left, and now it's turned into the First Order.
Yeah, the conflict raged for another year.
Yeah, but that's like about as much as you get, you know, with these new movies. And The Last Jedi absolutely offers no new questions or doesn't really give you a glimpse of anything in the universe that would be remotely interesting, you know? You just get a planet that looks like snow because of Empire, but instead it's salt. But it's the same, but it's different. You know,
there's a snow planet in episode 9 that they just confirmed.
Oh God, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I would honestly prefer it if they were just like, fuck it, let's just go back to Hoth, because at least to me, it's like, sure, is it repetitive? Yeah, but it's not an insult, because like the whole idea of them doing that, just taking what you've seen but changing it a little bit, it's like a trick. It feels like a trick. Mm-hmm. I don't know. The people who are running this are doing a really bad job. And it's because I don't think they have one of those minds like George Lucas. George Lucas is debatably a giant moron, but he's also a visionary that nobody really could quite grasp the talent of.
And can't recreate.
There's only one other person in this fucking industry that does what George Lucas does on a level that George Lucas does it, and it's Kevin Feige.
Yeah,
that's the only other person. Nobody else has ever come close to it. Do you think there's ever been another person that's done that? I can't think of one. I mean, even when it comes to, like, say, the Conjuring universe, like, there's no real head to it. Everybody just goes James Wan. You know what I mean? But James Wan's not really that connected to it.
He just produces it.
Yeah. There's never been another person like George Lucas besides Kevin Feige. I wonder if there are any out there, though, that'll rise up, you know? Everybody always wants to make names, but I don't think that's something you could just hire somebody to do. It's like those people find their ways to those jobs. Do you remember when, like, DC took off? And people were like, get Ben Affleck to run the universe.
Yeah.
Because he's a fan of Batman. Therefore, he could run this giant multi-million-dollar franchise.
Billion.
Oh, yeah, it would be a billion-dollar franchise. You're right. A multi-billion-dollar franchise. Give it to Ben Affleck because he's read Batman comics. Like, is that a start? Yeah, you got somebody running the ship. Maybe he would find a passion. Ben Affleck is talented. He's an amazing director. But does that mean that he's qualified for that job? No. You need to find the person with that crazy fucking brain.
Yeah.
You need to find somebody that, like, created Magic the Gathering.
It's not Kathleen Kennedy.
It's not. She's not that person. She is a fucking bigwig stiff with her agenda, and she's putting it in all the movies. But, I mean, hopefully one day they go beyond that. Hopefully they realize that it's not working, you know? And hopefully episode 9 is really good. And
they thought Star Wars was bigger than it is. Yeah. Not that they thought it was bigger, but they thought it was an invincible entity.
Yeah.
And they were wrong.
Yeah. I could see why they would think that.
So could I.
Yeah. They had...
Before, after The Force Awakens came out, I could say few bad movies tanks the Marvel Universe. Mm-hmm. One bad movie tanked Star Wars. Mm-hmm. When before, I would say, can't happen.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I think would happen too, like today. Like, if you have one really, really, really bad Avengers movie, you could tank the MCU. I think you could. It would have not tank, but you would take a hit.
Yeah, it would have to be a movie like that. Like
it would have to be. It
would have to be Avengers 5. I don't even think Avengers 4 would work. Like, because there's just so much hype going into it, and then what will come after Avengers 4 will be really different regardless. Avengers 5, if that tanks, I think that'll definitely lose fans, because I'm sure that'll be the point where people are like, it's not the same as it was. Remember when it was really good?
Yeah, they'll say the same things they say about Star Wars.
Star Wars has a good chance when it comes to its fan base to, like, really fuck things up and still have loyal fans because of what comes before it. And I mean, not only that, but Star Wars has already been through some shit.
Yeah.
Fandom is different, though, today than it was when the prequels came out. You know, the internet is a much more fulfilled place, if you will. There's more people on it, and they all learned how to hear each other's opinions better.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've heard stories of, like, people downloading the Phantom Menace trailer on their computer for, like, 4 hours just so they could watch it. And it's a different place now.
Yeah.
Trailers get 100 million views in 24 hours, and everybody says, I don't like it because there's women in it. That's just how it works today. Hopefully they fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think under its current leadership, it's fixable, but you're not going to have a movie that outgrosses The Force Awakens.
Yeah. They need to find that Kevin Feige. And maybe his name is George Lucas.
Maybe his name's Jon Favreau.
Yeah?
The Mandalorian is amazing. It's a possibility.
Yeah. The thing that I was saying though is like I know Jon Favreau is fucking talented. His movies are great. He's clever. He's a great writer. Does that mean he's capable of running that ship? Could he do it? Could you just
He got
get
the
a
first
director?
Iron Man off the ground.
He did. And he
A
does
movie
produce
that
a
was-
lot of the Marvel movies beyond it.
I think he could do it, yeah. I say that tentatively. Mm-hmm. We will see after The Mandalorian.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. And it would be interesting to see if, even if that were the case, if Disney would even make a move like that. You know what I mean? I know that Disney has made a move like that with Kevin Feige, but with this all being run under Kathleen Kennedy, would she have the good sense to be like, there are people with a better creative vision than I have, and I need to make sure that they're the ones that are making these movies? Like, will another failure be enough to drive her to that point?
To get her to step down?
And here's...
I don't think Kathleen Kennedy would ever step down.
Yeah.
She would need to be removed.
Now, here's another question. Say Star Wars isn't terrible, and it's also not quality, it's just fine. Like, it gets generally positive feedback, and it keeps making money.
Like The Force Awakens?
Yeah. Are we just doomed to have nothing special?
No.
No.
Because Solo got middle-of-the-line reviews, and Solo tanked. Mm-hmm. We need something good.
Yeah. That's a good point. Good point.
I got one more question for you, and then we can wrap this thing
All
up.
right. This is a long one, by the way.
How long is it?
We've been going an hour and a half.
You have a few topics here, though, that you can make into shorter videos.
Yeah.
Like, definitely make the Star Wars stuff into a shorter video. Like, for real, do it. It could get views.
It'll be a half-hour video.
That's fine. Who
Yeah,
cares?
there's nothing wrong with that. It's a quick segment.
Is Rian Johnson getting his trilogy? Yes, no.
No. He already got fired, I know it.
I would say no, too.
Yeah. There's no way in today when the connection between fan and studio, there's more awareness that goes on between them than there has ever been. So when people talk about The Last Jedi, they talk about what Rian Johnson did to The Last Jedi. You know what I mean? It's not just like, oh, that movie was bad and like the people behind it are anonymous like it kind of used to be, unless you were a big film fan. Like the general public is way more aware on what's behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So,
and I've said it before, but sometimes those people that run Star Wars can be jerks.
yeah. And
They
we
can
know
be jerks to people that love Star Wars. And those cards, the Your Snoke Theory Sucks cards, were handed out to people. Mm-hmm. They were handed out to Rian Johnson and people like that. But they took the picture.
Yeah.
They took the picture. They were trying to prove a point. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of tastes good right now. If anything came from The Last Jedi, as one of the pioneers of Star Wars theories on the internet, it's kind of nice for him to be like, and I don't normally like to swear on air, but it's like Rian Johnson, when he held up that card, it was almost like a fuck you to me, right?
Yeah.
It was like a fuck you and all of you nerds that want to come up with this Snoke theory and support the franchise. But no, Rian Johnson, fuck you.
How dare you be excited for the thing you love by coming up with your own ideas? What are you, some sort of fun, imaginative person that's thrilled to be a part of this community. Like,
yeah, it's like, no, Ryan Johnson,
it's blatant disrespect.
even if you like The Last Jedi, which as a film, I've said it before, I do not hate The Last Jedi.
It's not
But
terrible.
as a Star Wars film, it is awful for the universe. But like, I think it's in poor taste to hold up a card like that.
Yeah,
Genuinely.
it absolutely is. And you will never see Kevin Feige do that.
No.
You'll never see a director of a Marvel movie do that. Like, Taika Waititi would never be like, fuck you for being mad that Thor's hammer's broken. Like, that would have never happened. Like, and that's a stupid example, but it's just clear that they don't understand how to even interact with this fan base.
Fans, yeah.
Which, in a way, makes sense because they were handed the biggest franchise ever, and by handed I mean they bought it for $4 billion. So it's not like something that they worked up steadily. They built off the back of something, created something completely new, and they inherited a fan base that, you know, has already...
Crazy.
Yeah, the Star Wars fan base has already been through the ringer with shit, and they've been very vocal about how they feel on, like, the prequels, and the last thing any of them wanted was another fucking bad movie. And as far as, like, him getting that trilogy, they are not... obviously, they have a good history with firing directors.
Yeah.
So to see another one go would be nothing.
But this is what's going to happen. They're just not going to say anything about it.
Yeah,
ever.
you know, I don't even think they
won't
had a fucking idea for that trilogy. I think it was all just fucking promotional hype for the Last Jedi, because they were just like, "Oh, this movie's so good. We're gonna give Rian Johnson his own trilogy beyond this. What's it about? Something. We'll figure it out." Like, it seemed so fake. You know, because
Rian Johnson's even said it takes him an absurd amount of time to write something. It takes him forever.
And do you know how, like, even when Marvel doesn't announce something, you kind of always know what the future plan is. Every now and then they'll drop something crazy on you. But, like, we know right now...
Secret Wars.
There's, like, an Eternals movie and stuff. And we're always kind of, like, just a little bit in the know. But I don't think anybody was in the know with this Rian Johnson trilogy. People were like, maybe it takes place a long time ago. I don't know. Like, I don't think it's going to happen. They might do the trilogy, whatever, if they had an idea, but it's not going to be attached to that guy.
Star Wars doesn't, like, acknowledge YouTubers and our draw either, and as, like, the mega fans. If you wanted to consider, like, a YouTuber that does this, like, the ultimate, like, an epitome of a fan. I'm not saying that you have to be a YouTuber that talks about Star Wars to be the ultimate Star Wars fan. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, you have to be a pretty damn big one.
It is part of the community.
And I remember hearing all the time, like, people kind of not wanting to talk ill about Star Wars in hopes of working with them one day. But it's not going to happen. And
do you know another company that totally does a good job dealing with that? Marvel Studios. I remember when the first Guardians of the Galaxy was about to come out in theaters, seeing Kevin Feige and Chris Pratt both going on to, like, AMC Movie Talk when that channel used to exist. Yeah. And it only had, like, 100,000 subscribers. So it's not even, like, the biggest fucking voice on YouTube or anything, but it was, like, they made their rounds making sure that, like, people... knew about that. If you watch Screen Junkies videos, Ryan Reynolds does the voice of Deadpool in the honest trailers for the Deadpool movies. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's a different studio.
Marvel but, like,
so Star Wars. Sorry,
these franchises are very connected to their fans and connected to their fans in all their platforms. And the reality is, the biggest public one is on YouTube, because it's a place where, unlike really Instagram or Twitter or anything, YouTube is people making actual content, and you could talk to your fans there. So Marvel does it great, and they do not pretend like it's some bullshit thing, you know? Star Wars is out of touch.
I just want to end on one last note. I know I've said that like 3 times.
It's good. It's fine.
I love Star Wars. It's like my favorite franchise in history. Yeah. It is what I grew up with. As a kid, I always wanted to be Luke Skywalker. He always did the right thing no matter what, no matter what anybody else was telling him, no matter his circumstances. He did the right thing. He was a good person. I enjoyed the prequels. I love all of Star Wars. I even love parts of The Last Jedi. I just wanted to say that this universe is really special to me, and I'm sure everybody else, and that's why I want it to be good, and I want it to succeed.
Yeah.
And I just want to be, like, appreciated. It's like Star Wars is like a girl, you know?
Yeah.
Star Wars is a girl. It's like, they can look pretty, but they're not really nice to me. That's okay. They look really pretty. I'll deal with it. But now she's not so pretty, and she still doesn't talk to me.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I'm less likely to like stay around. And when I say stay around, I mean like support.
Yeah.
I'm always going to be around. I'm always going to be a Star Wars fan. They could like Episode 9 could be like footage of a rock for 2 hours, and I would still be a Star Wars fan because of what's happened before. But like, I just want it to be good from a place of love, not from a place of hate.
Yeah.
That's it.
Star Wars is like a girl that you remember from your past, and you thought like, oh, she was like the best. You had like a huge crush on her, and then you meet her again. She's a 10, you know? But then, like, you see her without her makeup, and she has like a bad skin problem, and then she called your mom a cunt. And you're like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. And then you look at Marvel, and that's just a straight up babe with a rockin' body, and she has family dinners with you.
Taking it too far, dog.
She has a family dinner with you, and